Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jackson Wheeler speaking from the main ballroom of the Ambassador Hotel on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles, where, as you can plainly see, thousands of bridge players from all over the United States have gathered for this, the final day, and incidentally, the very first television coverage ever presented of the national championships of the American Contract Bridge League. Very proudly presented to you live from the scene of action by Richfield and your Richfield dealers, marketer of the completely new motor fuel Richfield boron gasoline. Now, specifically, for the next 2 hours of this 31st Annual National Bridge Championships, we will be covering one of the final sessions in the most important championship of all, the open pairs. To win it, I tell you, the dream of all bridge players everywhere. Now, seated as the north-south pair at our table number 1, and remaining throughout the afternoon, are two of the greatest life masters in bridge. Playing north, Mr. Charles Gorin, the best-known name in bridge today. And as his favorite bridge partner, seated south, the charming Mrs. Helen Sokol, America's and probably the world's foremost feminine bridge player. Now, ladies and gentlemen, round number one, as I look over now, has not been completed. It is in the process of being completed. So I would like to introduce now to you two of the greatest, if not the greatest, experts on the Pacific Coast in the instruction of Gorin Bridge, as well as being very fine experts in their own right. The two gentlemen who will be your narrators this afternoon, and certainly qualified they are. On my left is Mr. Robert Lee Johnson.
Thank you, Jackson.
And on my right is the inimitable Mr. Spencer Cap. Now, inasmuch, Bob, as most of us are rubber bridge players, and I stress that word, I think it most important now for you to explain exactly what duplicate bridge is, how it is played, and why duplicate bridge is used in all tournaments. Will you do that, Bob?
Well, Jackson, a duplicate tournament is nothing in the world but a bridge contest in which all teams play identically the same card.
They play the same identical
cards.
That's right,
thereby eliminating the luck of card holding.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you and I might go in, get lucky, and beat Charlie Gorin and Helen Sober. Who knows? This afternoon, for example, when play started, 2 hands were dealt at each table. Before any of the players move.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're not fixed hands. They're dealt by the players themselves. Mm-hmm. And there'll be no more dealing all afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
You see, when a hand has been bid in duplicate play,
mm-hmm.
instead of taking the cards and throwing them out into the center of the table, as you do in your rubber bridge games,
right,
each player plays the card right down in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the hand is completed, each player picks up his card as a unit.
Demonstrate that right
Yes,
now.
and
Mm-hmm.
inserts it into the pocket of one of these duplicate boards, one of the 4 pockets. And then this board, Jackson, begins to travel throughout the room. From table to table, right. Until every team in the tournament has played this identical hand. Understand, the cards are duplicated, the position of the dealer is duplicated, vulnerability is duplicated, everything except the players. Now, just one more point quickly. After those first 2 hands were dealt and played this afternoon, we made a hand record of them. A record of all 13 cards in all 4 hands of these 2 boards, and we have those hands.
We have the
That means this, Jackson.
And my friends
people,
too.
yes, well, if you people down at KTTV have worked this thing out electronically,
Bob,
so that people at home can watch these experts bid and play these cards, believe me, you've reached the millennium of bridge broadcasting.
all right, well, now, I think that Richfield and KTTV will justify the confidence, because you have confidence in us.
All the faith in the world.
All right, well, now, you come with me, and I'll explain to our friends and to you exactly how we're going to cover this. Brief recapitulation. In order to really test the skill of all of our players, they bid on exactly the same hands. That is the true test. Want to come with me?
I certainly
all right,
will.
now, ladies and gentlemen, we have an isolation booth around here to the right that Bob and I are now entering. And when we, as you see us sitting here right now, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Cap will alternate as commentators on each. Now, we're now in the isolation booth, and I've switched microphones here now, and I will now speak directly, as you will see, during the afternoon through this microphone here. Now, as I said, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Cap will alternate as commentators on each round of play. Now, before I tell you that, may I say that a completely new and entirely different concept of televising bridge has been originated for this specific broadcast, and we're quite proud of it. Now, To get back to it, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Cap will alternate as commentators on each round of play consisting of 2 hands, or boards each. Now, we'll be working from this isolation booth, Bob, Spencer, and myself, so that none of the players can hear us. They cannot hear a word, right, Bob? That's right. Now, inasmuch as all the hands, as Bob has told you, have been dealt and will remain constant without change throughout the afternoon, we, of course, have prior knowledge as to what those hands consist of. You see that? Now, here's the keynote now, Bob. With duplicate cards arranged on a board at a hidden camera location backstage, you will be able to follow the bidding and play even better than you could if you were kibitzing, believe me, in person right behind Charles Gorin's chair. As the players bid, you will see and hear them like this. Now, during play, you will see the fall of the cards from an angle like this. Now, this is possible through the use of a mirror placed over the table, so that, in effect, you are looking straight down on the bridge table. Now, you listen now, and you'll hear Mr. Al Sobel, the chief tournament director for the American Contract Bridge League, calling the change for round number 2. He is calling the change now, and incidentally, he will referee the play at our table number 1. Now, while the East-West pairs, they've changed tables, I'm going to go back now to Robert Lee Johnson, who will give us a rundown on the first board to be played. Okay, Bob.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we spend much time with the cards to be played, let me introduce the 2 new players who have just arrived at this table and will now be fighting it out against Charles Gorin and Helen Sobel. In the west chair, and that's the chair to your left as you're facing your TV camera, is Harry Steen. Harry Steen is one of the most brilliant young life masters we've ever developed here on the Pacific Coast. And I might say to you ladies, too, that he's a very handsome and very eligible bachelor.
Oh, that's nice to know.
Now, seated across from him in the east chair, the chair to your right is your face, your screen, is Mr. Albert Okeneff. Both of these gentlemen are life masters. Mr. Okeneff started out as a school teacher, if I understand. I think he's now in the automobile business. Now, you are looking at the cards, and
Bob, if you'll excuse me just one second, I think they're ready to bid right now, so here we go.
Hold everything. I think the bidding is about to start.
Your dummy is supposed to go behind. Behind.
Oh, the dummy is behind us. Like it outside the card altogether.
Thank you.
So much.
Hold on.
Played by the south hand. Opening leads the King of Diamonds, the Deuce of Diamonds, and the Ace. Ace of Hearts is led. The 7 of Hearts, the west hand. The 3 of Spades from dummy. The 5 of Hearts from the east hand. 8 of Hearts is led from the south hand. Deuce of Hearts by the west hand. And dummy, the 4 of Spades. 1 by east, King of Hearts. King of Clubs led by east. Rough with the 4 of Hearts by Declara. The 6 of Clubs by west. And the Deuce of Clubs out of dummy. And the Jack of Hearts by Declara now. The Queen of Hearts by west. 7 of Spades comes from dummy. And the 3 of Hearts, of course, from east. And now Declara is studying. The 3 of Clubs. The 4 of Clubs, the Jack of Clubs, and the 6 of Hearts. The 7 of Diamonds by Helen Sobel. Queen of Diamonds by west. Jack of Diamonds by dummy. The 4 of Diamonds by east. Gosh, they're playing fast. Of course, these are experienced. 7 of Clubs. 9 of Clubs, Ace of Clubs, and the 9 of Hearts trumped in Declara's hand. of spades, 10 of spades, 8 of spades, and the ace of spades wins, of course, the East hand. 5 of diamonds. Helen hesitates. Understand, the 10 of diamonds, 3 of diamonds to the west hand, and the 7 of spades. The 10 of hearts, 10 of clubs, 5 of clubs, deuce of spades, king of spades, jack of spades, 7 of spades, 9. Down 2 tricks, 100 for east-west, but not a bad score at all. A funny thing happened, you know. I just received a report. I didn't see this hand played myself at the previous table, but I just understand the contract of the previous table was 6 hearts, doubled, down 3 for a loss of 900 points.
Now, why the difference in bidding with experts now, Bob?
Well, I'll tell you, Jackson, and they're getting ready to set up the next hand. But it's greatly a matter of bidding style. This hand, for example, you may not recall it, but South had an extremely freakish hand. South had a 7-card heart suit to the ace-jack 10, and undoubtedly they just pushed, that's all, and pushed a little more than they should have pushed. You notice Helen and Gordon pushed a little bit. They got the 4 hearts, and they went down too. But they didn't have the, what should I call it, the bravery, the daring, or the courage, or perhaps the foolishness to move on to 6 hearts and take a dive of 900 points. So they came out on it pretty well, I would say.
Well, that shows you how fascinating it's going to be this afternoon.
It was a funny hand. Hereafter, we'll know more about the hands as they come up through the afternoon.
I think we're about ready to go.
I think we're about ready to go. Ladies and gentlemen, you can look this next hand over. This is board number 4. West is the dealer. Both sides are vulnerable. Now, remembering the West is the dealer while these champions look over that card, kind of make up your mind what you'd do with this hand. What would you do in the West hand? Would you pass or would you open?
Pass.
Well, may I mention this point right now? Of course, these players cannot see.
Pass. I pass.
1 heart.
1 spade. Pass. I pass.
3 diamonds.
I come.
3 diamonds.
No bed. Three no trump. I pass.
Charming lady. Yes, indeed. Oh, she's going through mental trouble right now. And you just have to kind of suffer along. She can't see Charlie's hand, you know. She doesn't know.
4 diamonds.
Oh, 4 diamonds. 4 diamonds by Helen. Passed by West. Back up to Charlie again. He's thinking with that expression. Well, he's got a little smile.
Went from 3 to 4 in the same suit.
Well, she almost had, of course, one has his preference now between diamonds and hearts. Up to 4 diamonds, and Charlie has to think this one over.
Wonder what our viewers are thinking, all of our embryonic players and our other good foreign players.
I'm wondering. Oh, Charlie, with Helen Sobel and his other teammates, won the Open Team of 4 championship in the United States here last Friday. They had to come from behind. Believe me, they came booming from it. But he is one of the nicest fellows that ever lived, let me tell you. Not only a terrific bridge player, but one of the sweetest, most affable, kindest men I have ever seen. Charlie is a peach. And you can say, you people at home, you're looking right at his hand. You can say, oh, he passes.
I pass.
Contract, you saw diamond. Deuce of diamond.
Outside.
Open lead.
Outside.
Outside.
carefully studying this hand before she plays.
You approve of that lead, Bob?
He's on a spot. We don't like to lead aces against a suit contract ever, and we don't like to lead away from aces. The tray of diamonds played from dummy. The 8 of diamonds on the west side, and Helen wins with the ace of diamonds. See that opening lead? He's got 2 aces. He doesn't like to lead aces. He either has to lead 10 or nothing in hearts, and Helen's bid hearts. He's got to lead right into her somewhere. Ace of hearts. 5 of hearts. 8 of hearts from dummy. And I don't believe I've seen a card played yet by the East, the 4 of hearts, played by East.
I think perhaps, Bob, we should identify south, east, and west a little bit more.
Yeah, I got by one. One got slipped by me. Well, here comes the Queen of Diamonds. We can pick it up now. Queen of Diamonds. The 10 of Diamonds. The Deuce of Clubs. And the 9 of Clubs. Now we're back in business, Jackson. I know what I'm doing. I hope.
Well, they're played so fast, too, you know, once they make up their mind.
Yes.
Now, this is perhaps the greatest living woman bridge player.
She is the greatest bridge player in the world. The Queen of Spades, Ace of Spades by West, 5 of Spades, 4 of Spades. Ace of Clubs, 8 of Clubs. That out goes like a racer. 6 of Clubs, 4 of Clubs, Queen of Clubs, 6 of Diamonds.
I was right about no chance. We can't make it.
Conceded by the opponents.
Was that the right hand?
Yeah.
Unless they were
Making 5 diamonds, 600. They only bid 4 diamonds. Now this time it just goes to show you the greatest bridge players in the world. At the last table, they bid 5 diamonds and picked up 600 points. And Charlie and Helen quitted 4 diamonds on the game, and of course made 5 diamonds, but they did not get the game. I've always said that the human element.
2 clubs we cash out. Ace and king of clubs. Well, I knew I must easily be wrong. She can suppose she's got 2 clubs and 1 spade. If she has 2 clubs and 1 spade, the other player's wrong.
Too good if you know what
I know, you didn't start with the 2, Bill. The diamond lead is the only lead to hold the contract to 4. But I mean, she can have 2, have another club and a single and spade. Is this the second board of the set we just played? Supposing you have one less, the single and spade and another club. Did we?
I probably would have left spades before I roughed my heart.
She has a singleton spade. She'll ruff a heart and then come to the spade and take a pitch. That's the key to the hand.
Scared to do it.
That's the key to the whole hand.
And yet I couldn't afford to leave the spade early and
Okay, so if you're up, that's your tip-off, Mary.
Actually, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in the history of great tournament bridge, you have actually listened to the conversation, the post-mortem of a hand which was not bid game by the great champions, right, Bob?
That's right. Well, they'll do it occasionally. I started to say a minute ago, you know, the human element controls. And on these close hands, it's not like rubber bridge. Oh, rubber bridge, you shut your eyes and bid game. Who cares? This is duplicate. Everybody's playing the same cards, and you're so fearful that you bid game, the other players stop at 4 diamonds and make 4 diamonds, and you get a bad board. So it's one of those things. It's a hard matter to make up your mind on.
I think I might add this at this point, Bob, that there is a time limit of 15 minutes actually placed, is there not? In other words, 2 hands must be played in 15 minutes. What happens since they did not make it that time and the duration is prolonged?
Well, this is kind of unusual, I think, with the telecast and all that. Generally, the tournament director comes around and he gives them a good bowling out, and if they do it too much, they get penalized in match points. But this afternoon, I think, with the excitement of the lights and the candles and everything else, maybe they're being a little kind to them.
We're taking a shot now of this entire auditorium here, the ballroom at the Ambassador Hotel, and we now have the call for the change right now.
And that means, Jackson, I'm going to duck out and kind of kibitz the next 2 hands that are coming up while my good friend Spencer Cap runs through the play-by-play of the next 2 with you. Thanks a lot, Jackson.
Thank
See you in a few minutes.
Right.
Okay.
Now, what happens right now, ladies and gentlemen, is that the new team is now moved to this table. Spencer Cap will now come in, and of course we have knowledge of how these particular hands that you're about to see were played before. Now, the new couple have moved in, and Spencer Cap, will you explain why they have moved in and what they will do now?
Well, they have just finished playing the two boards at table number 12, table number 13, and they move in now, from table number 2, 13. They move in now to table number 1, and we have now, in the east position, Mrs. Lois Bardet of Seattle, who is one of our foremost life masters. We have the picture on her now. She's was the Washington State Championship, won the championship for 2 years in succession, and her partner, Adolphe Koch, also of Seattle, life master number 1039, which is way up there, and he has won many championships. He is qualified very high in this present open pair championship, and they're about ready to play the hand. Now, I've just witnessed this hand played at the previous table, which is table 2, and you can look at the hand now, and you can determine what North is going to do with it. North is vulnerable, and is the dealer, as you'll notice, and we're about to commence the bidding.
Here goes the bidding now.
There goes the bidding now. Now, the play is beginning.
We might bear in mind, Spencer, the exact positions on North's.
That happened.
One diamond.
One heart.
No good. I pass.
Double. Pass.
One no trump. I pass.
Two no trump.
Pass.
No good. I pass.
Fine. Now, final contract, 2 no trump by North. At the last table, the opening lead was the 4 of clubs. We'll see what it will be here. I'd lead the 4 of hearts. The 9 of hearts is led. Oh, South is declared. 9 of hearts is led. And Mrs. Sobel was now playing the hand at 2 no trump.
The previous table, what was the contract?
Previous table, the contract was 3 no trump, played in the north position, down 2. At the table before that, it was played for 3 no trump in the north position, down 1. Now, Mrs. Sobel has to decide what card she will play. The 9 of diamonds was led. And she is still thinking. And now she's calling for a card. She calls for the 10. The 10 of hearts from the dummy. The ace of hearts is played by East, and the trick is won by East with the ace of hearts. East now leaves the deuce of hearts. The 3 of hearts is played. The 6, and the king takes the trick in the dummy. Remember, the contract is 2 no trump in the south position. Ace of diamonds is now led from the dummy. 10 of diamonds plays from the east hand. Ace and 10 so far. The 8 of diamonds from the south. And the deuce. The trick is won now by the dummy. Queen of diamonds is now led from the dummy. The king plays on it from the east hand. The 7 is from the... and the 5. And the king has won the trick in the east position. And Mrs. Bardet is now thinking as to what she will come back with. She has a problem. She comes back with the 4 of clubs. The jack of clubs is tried. The deuce is played. And the 6 is played from the dummy. The trick has been won by South. Mrs. Sobel now has the problem as to what she will do next. Remember, her contract is 2 no trump. It has been played at 3 no trump, down 2 and down 1 up to this point. The Queen of Hearts is now her lead from the south hand. The 3 of clubs is the discard from the west hand. The deuce of spades is the discard from the north hand. And the 4 of hearts is followed too with the east by the east hand. The 4 of diamonds is now led. The 9 of diamonds, the jack from the dummy, holding the trick. The 8 of clubs is discarded. The 6 of diamonds is now led from the dummy. 10 of clubs is discarded. And the 5 of clubs from the west hand. 3 of diamonds is led. 7 of spades is discarded. 8 of hearts. And the 7 of clubs. Ace of spades is led. 8 of spades, the 4, and the 10. King of spades. 5 of hearts, 5 of spades, and the jack of spades. The 6 of spades is led. Jack of hearts, 9 of spades, and the queen of spades. And the opponents win the last club trick. And 3 no trump is made. Now, as this team had bid but 2, they do not receive the credit for a game. As you know, in contract bridge, you get credit for only that which you bid. However, they have defeated, the Gorin-Sobel team have defeated the last 2 tables at this point, and they are high at this point in the tournament on this particular board, number 5.
Spencer, may I interrupt just for a second? While we're sort of relaxing after this, and to me it's fascinating that what happens with different bids. I mean, one bids it, one does not. But I inform our friends that you are viewing the National Bridge Championships, brought to you live from the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. This is a special events presentation by Richfield, makers of the completely new, completely different motor fuel, Richfield Boron Gasoline. Now, Spencer, in line with this particular coverage that we are giving to our friends today, there's one point I wish you clarified for me as a rubber bridge player.
You bet.
What happens with the scoring when they left the table in the 2 opponents previous, you know, that we described before? Yeah. What happens when they did not complete their game and merely walked away because the time limit was up? How is that scored?
Well, that would have to be scored as an average board, which is called 50% of perfect. The hand is now on, we have board number 6 before us here. The east hand, you'll note, is the dealing hand, and at the last table, the opening bid was 1 spade. It might be possible that they will open with a preemptive bid of 3 spades or possibly 4 spades. The result on this hand so far has been that they played it board 6 at 4 hearts and made 4, and they played it at 3 no trump the last time, and they made 4, which is a little better score. The score of 3 no trump making 4.
All right, now, Spencer, I think that we will listen this time to the actual bidding. Shall we try to
All right, shall we try and pick up the actual bidding at the table this time?
Start the auction.
Pass. 4 spades.
I pass.
Pass.